Hey guys, it's Greg. In this video I would like to show you Dominate and Delegate. This is a prototype and this game is heavily inspired by all those old school RTS video games from late 90s and early 2000s. So if you played those titles like Command and Conquer, Blitzkrieg or Dune games, you're going to be feeling like in home in playing this one. So this is basically those games but on a table. We got a prototype, we only got 3 missions in here. The game is still produced, so we don't know how the final product is going to look like, but what we have experienced with those 3 missions was really cool, and I am going to show you all the components and mechanics of this game. Maybe not all, but the flow of it. So if you're interested in this title, just check out the rest of this video. So as you can see, we have a lot on the table, but first of all I want to point out that I've set up 2 types of the missions. Those regular missions, which are over, I don't know if they are regular. One type of the mission that is over here on the map, where you're going to build structures and deploy units, and the second type of mission, which is over here, which is basically dungeon crawler, but I will explain everything shortly. First of all, let me tell you that Dominate and Delegate, this is basically an RTS from late 90s on a table. If you ever played in a games like Blitzkrieg or Red Alert or Command and Conquer, this is it. I mean, even when I was reading the rules, it was instantly the rules reminded me instantly the mechanics that I knew from those games in the 90s. So I am extremely excited with this game because, for example, Command and Conquer was one of my favorites and games of this time, of 90s. So, right. So what we are going to get in Dominate and Delegate. This is a prototype, so we only got 3 missions here and only 2 factions. There's Red Cats and EFA, but we should also get Cobra and AST. Those are not finished yet, so we only got the boxes, but they are empty. And right now how it works. So what is very cool, I want to show you. Again, if you played those games in the 90s, those pictures that I'm going to show you are going to be quite familiar for you, right? So if you remember those cinematics in those old school games, I mean those pictures should look quite familiar, and I'm talking Red Alert, for example, familiar, right? So this is the idea. We have we have a world in conflict. We have 4 factions, and we have campaign to play. And this is the best part, because you can play this game as a campaign, and then it's the game for 2 players. But there's also a skirmish, like regular game, where you can play with 2, 3, 4 players on a map. You're building your bases and you attack each other, and that's it. So, and this is not all, because as I said, in a campaign there are also 2 types of the missions: those regular ones on the map, and those special ones as a dungeon crawlers. So, what we are going to do and have on this regular map. So I'm gonna show you this campaign, because this is also amazing thing, because we are going to get booklets for each of the factions, and in these booklets we are going to find a list of missions. In here we only get 3 of them, and the cool part is that in this game one player is playing as a main player, and the opponent is playing as a computer, let's say, and then after this mission you're going to switch sides, and then the one player, this player that was the main player, is going to play as this computer, and the other one is doing his or her mission. So what does it mean? For example, we are going to start with a campaign of Red Cats, and in this booklet So in those booklets we have exactly the same missions, so battle islands. And when you are going to play as a Red Cats, you are going to have some kind of rules, your individual text in here. You're going to have some information, but that's it. You're not going to find anything more. Like you have some stats about your stats with your how is it? What's this called? Landing ships. So yeah, so stats of your landing ships and so on. And this is like setup, informations that are necessary for Red Cats. But the other player that is going to play as this yellow one, as this EFA, here is a setup of the map for this player, and those setups are going to change. So. And again, here we have some information about units that are only used by this yellow player. And also the primary goal, the way to win the game is completely different depending on the site. And when, for example, the first player is a red player, so he is performing all those, the goal is to, for example, in here, where is it? In this campaign we have information in here prevent player 1 from winning, so basically the red player. Player 1 wins when the SUS marine camp is in inactive state, and player 1 owns 2 MCVs and 2 landing ships. So basically each player gets different goals and completely different setup. It's exactly like in those old school RTSs. So this is not the setup of the game, but basically the setup of this first scenario is like on the whole map you have only yellow components of this faction, and the red player starts in a corner with 3 those landing ships and with 2 MCVs. And your goal is to reach actually the building over here and destroy it, just like that. So those sides and the way how the campaign starts are not even, and this is exactly how it was in this old school RTSs. And why I said that the rules are going to change, because this is the first mission, right? And when we're going to the second mission, the setup in here is completely different, and so there's another way of playing this game. And this setup is also connected to those experiences that I have from the 90s. So basically, when there were missions where you started with only few units in a corner of the map, and the rest of the map was in a fog of war. And in here we also have fog of war. Those are those question marks with the black hexes. When you are closer to them, you are going to add another elements to the map. And again, you're adding another elements to the map. So the red player, that is again that player starts in here, and the yellow player is adding the rest pieces to the map, right? So it's like a game master for this red player. And the roles changes in the next mission. And the next type of mission that we are going to talk about are those missions that are like this dungeon crawler. But we're going to get to them shortly. Before that, I would like to talk more about the map. So in here we have basically those gigantic pieces of map. I don't have. Do I have one additional? So yeah. So we have those elements that you're going to use them to build the map. And on the map you are going to first of all build buildings. Second thing, build deploy units. And this thing is also exactly the same as in those old school RTSs. So first of all you need to have construction yard to have a building to build other buildings. Then you need to have a power plant that grants you 4 power, and each other build almost all. Yeah, let's say all of the rest of the buildings needs power to function. So you're going to use your players, navigation, or whatever. What is this? Energy output, and you're going to count how many energy you have from your power plants, and decrease or increase it depending on your usage of the power. So we have power plants. Then we have refinery, and when you build the refinery, you automatically get the harvester. So here we have, for example, a harvester. Those units are used to gather ores that you can sell them for 6 credits each. And to do this, your harvester must be next to, adjacent to the entrance of the refinery. So again, those associations with the games from 90s are quite clear in here. Now, so we have refinery, then we have barracks, the way to deploy units. Then you have a factory, so you can build some mobile units. You can build a helipad, so you can deploy flying units, and uplink. And this is like special building that you can unlock it during the campaign. And always in those RTSs, each of the sites had these most powerful type of building that made that ultimate attack, like time travel or atomic bomb or something like this. In here we have uplink. And we have the information about the type, so those are the structures, how much time you are going to produce them, so basically 3 rounds, 2 rounds, and so on, and the costs and icons. So this is just informs you what are the effects of this building, more or less. And on the bottom we have all those units that you can build. So 2 types of towers, 3 types of like human units, 1 buggy, so like transport unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 more heavy units, and 3 flying units, bomber, fighter, and dropship. And in here again you have information about the costs, how many movements those units, how many spaces those units can move, the range of the attack, and the type of units that can be attacked by specific units. So for example, this most basic human unit can attack only also humans and buggy in this example, but we have engineer infantry that can capture other buildings or repair bridges. And this capturing buildings of your opponent also worked amazingly in those old school video games, when you could just sneak into the other enemy's base and capture all those power plants, making him to have a energy shortage. So here are all those informations about your units and buildings that you can build and deploy. So we have hexes, we have those units. Everything is like right now printed on, I think, 3D printer, so it's not final product obviously, but we have like all those buildings and those where is it, for example, power plant here with this chimney I don't know how to call it correctly in English, and construction yard with this crane that is quite iconic for me. I mean, every single game of this from 90s RTSs had those construction yards with cranes. Right, so those are the components on the board, and basically how you play this game is extremely simple, because you're going when there's your turn, you're basically activating each of your units. So you're performing move action and then interact action or attack action or whatever. And after you are activating one unit after another. After you decided to stop activating your units, you're going to the building/construction phase. When you are producing new units, you are using this track to add another another units to this track, so you're basically moving them by one each round to this ready space when and it indicates that you can deploy those units on the map. And this is built in this way so your opponent cannot see what is on your line. So that's why this looks like this. And what else we have here? Components, buildings. Yeah, so more or less that's it. So rules are extremely simple, I think. I mean, there's a lot of rules, but in the end they're quite simple. And so you're going to build your base, you're going to collect ore to get more money, you're going to build power plants to have more power, and then you're deploying your units to attack your enemy. So basically this is it. This map is a little bit weirdly looking because in this setup all those yellow elements that are normally desert in this scenario are treated as water, and those green floating islands are islands basically. Right, so this is the one way of playing the game. On the board, performing those missions. When it can be discovered like this, like you can see everything, or you're going to use this fog of war element and just add another layer of game, another element of the game to this main player, player one in this game, how it's described in the manual. But there is also another type of mission that you can encounter in this game, so not on this map, but over here as a dungeon crawler. And now let me show it closer. So now we are going to this dungeon crawler type of mission, and now let me again explain it to you, because in here we have information. And wait a second, so we're going to check this in the Red Cat campaign. I think it's going to be as a red player. So this mission is for yellow player. Yellow player is going to start as this small little guy, this small engineer in this corridor, and I've set up this map this is the full setup, but normally you should start only with this small piece like this. Your engineer is starting in here, and here you have your door that you need to open to see what is in other rooms, and that's quite obvious because you cannot normally see the whole plan of the building, right? So you're starting with this, and in your yellow player turn you need to move and open the door. When you open the door, the red player, which is now this game master, like in this descent, adds another part of this complex, depending on the place of doors, for example. So when you have doors and they are locked, you shouldn't see the rest of the complex of the map. And you are going just to walk one by one, moving square by square, unlocking another elements. And what is very cool in here, because this red player constantly has this map in front of him with all those informations. That's, for example, in here there is a notebook, but you have this what is it? Magnifying glass in this at the beginning. So you shouldn't tell the red player shouldn't tell yellow player that there is a notebook. When there is this magnifying glass, red player must make an interaction to find this notebook. All other informations should be told. So, for example, if there is a deep shaft in here, that red player should tell, okay, so you are in this room and there's a deep shaft that you can enter. or even you can tell, okay, the doors on the left are security door, but you're not going to tell this player that they are locked. You're not going to tell that yellow player can use this console in here to do this solvent canister. So that's the solvent canister. I don't know what does it mean. Or that this place in here is AI computer. All those elements must be figured out by yellow player. So how it works? Yellow player, when there's activation of yellow player, he or she is moving one by one, uncovering another part of the complex, and this player also can make an interaction, like let's say search. And when that player performs the search action, red player must say what is in the specific space. So for example, when this yellow player is standing in this space and it performs this search action, red player is telling that, okay, there's a notebook. And this is the cool part, because on the other side you have all those algorithms. And for example here, about this notebook, trigger notebook, player 1, so yellow player acts with the notebook, so performs this search action, for example, and then the game stops, red player reads this flavor text, and that's it. But sometimes there's, for example, like here, trigger terminal locked door, player 1 acts with terminal door lock. And what's happening? Flip the terminal token, the adjacent door is locked when the terminal is red, the adjacent door is unlocked when the terminal is green. So when, let's check door lock terminal. So let's check door, where is here? Here we have this door lock terminal. When a yellow player interacts with this element, you are going to read all those. The red player should read all those flavor text and then inform that when this is red, we have lock door. When it's yellow, when it's green, the door are going to be opened. We also have information how guards are going to move. So here we have a guard that is moving one by one next to the computer, one step by step. In here we have another guard that is walking in a circle, and all those informations are necessary for red player to be a game master and to control everything on a board, and the yellow player is just having fun, basically. And yes, so this is the coolest part. All those triggers, all those like moments that red player can activate, and that red player needs to read and implement on the board. So the most difficult part of this part of the game for me is to be good in organizing your stuff, because there's a lot of triggers and you need to remember all those elements, because when you do not read them properly, when you will skip something, I mean the red player is going to skip something, the game, I don't know, it can be a bit broken. I know, maybe not, but it's not going to be such fun as it should be. And this is it. What is also cool, that those triggers are also on this typical, this second way of playing this game. It's also on this map of battlefield where you are going to use this fog of war. So player 1 unit is adjacent to fog of war token. You're going to read something, dice result. You're going to add something, and so on and so on. There's a lot of ifs and a lot of algorithms that are launched once one of the players is doing something. So there's quite a lot of elements to remember. But thankfully the rules of the games are quite simple, so your players can focus more on those triggers that are in those booklets. And this is it, Dominate and Delegate. I am super hyped by this game because I think that having this dungeon crawling element and also building those and having those battles on the maps and using Fog of War, those are all nostalgic mechanics that I remember from those old school games, and I just love it. So yeah, this is it. I hope that the game is going to be amazing. Right now it's prototype, so it's hard to say what we can expect when it comes to the final product, but what we already played gives us hope that we are not going to be disappointed. Alright, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video and see you in the next one.